Hey friend, welcome back to The Gentle Reset, your no judgment zone for creating a home that actually works for you. I'm Allison, ADHD home and systems coach, former occupational therapist, and mom of two, and I'm so glad you're here. Last week in episode 24, we talked about how to tell when a reset isn't enough and how to decide where to start when your home feels off. Today, I want to slow down things and talk about what often happens before any real change, the thoughts and the stories that come up and how easily they get turned inward. Let's take one simple step together today. Here's your weekly 3, a mind hack, a home hack, and a personal highlight to help your home feel lighter, more functional, and easier to maintain. Today, you'll hear why the signs you notice in your home often get misread as something about you, how to pause and listen to what a space is actually asking for, and how changing the way you interpret those signals can make it easier to know where to start. And next week, we're talking about how self-blame affects the way ADHD women show up at home, from avoidance to burnout, even when they're trying their best. Make sure you're following so you don't miss it. Let's jump in. Here's the mindset shift I want you to hear today. When a space in your home starts feeling hard, most ADHD women don't see it as information. They see it as something being wrong with them. Avoidance turns into, I'm procrastinating or I'm lazy. Mess and piles turn into, I can't stay on top of anything. Overwhelm turns into, why is this so easy for everyone else? Or, I should know what to do by now. And these thoughts feel automatic and true, and they're what I call limiting beliefs. They're thoughts that you've learned over time that quietly shape how you see yourself and your home. And a lot of times, these beliefs start early, from how you saw your parents keep up with the home, what was praised, what caused stress, or what felt expected. So instead of listening to the limiting belief, you judged yourself for noticing it. You push harder, you feel guilty, you avoid the space even more. But that's usually not what's even going on. A struggling space doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It's a neutral sign. And with ADHD, there's often a habit of turning this inward, thinking you're the problem instead of questioning what's actually happening in this space. The problem is that we've been taught to respond to these thoughts with self-criticism instead of curiosity. So instead of asking, why can't I keep up with my home? A more helpful question is, what story am I telling myself about this space? Because when you change the story, you change how you show up, and that's where real change starts. So now that we've talked about the story you might be telling yourself, here's the practical shift I want you to try. When a space feels hard, don't ask, how do I fix this? Pause and ask, what is this space asking for? Because most of the time, your home isn't asking for you to try harder. It's asking for clarity. A space you avoid is often asking for fewer decisions. A space that keeps collecting doom piles is usually asking for clearer home for things. A space that makes you feel behind the moment you walk into it is usually asking to work differently. And this isn't about adding more to your plate. It's about paying attention in a new way. One simple way to do this is to pick one space, not your whole house, and notice what feels hardest about being in it. Not what it looks like, not what you think should work, but what actually feels heavy when you're there. That information matters. For example, if I walk into my home every day and feel completely overwhelmed because I'm tripping over shoes and book bags, that space is telling me that the setup isn't working for our family right now. And once you see the space clearly, the next step feels lighter and you know where to start. Just like we talked about in episode 24 with anchor spaces. You're not fixing everything, you're resetting one space, making simple changes, and letting that momentum carry you forward. So let me share a moment from a client that really stuck with me. She came to me feeling completely overwhelmed by what she called the snowball effect of clutter. When one room got messy, things would spill into the next room and then the next. And there was no clear way to pull things back in or reset without everything falling apart again. And with that came a lot of big feelings, not just about the house, but about herself. She grew up in a messy home, and whenever she tried to help, never felt like enough. Things would get cleaned, but the clutter always came back. And she carried that story with her into adulthood. this belief that if her home felt chaotic, it meant she was failing. During one of our conversations, she shared something really important. She started talking about how deeply she feels things and how overwhelming that can be when the house feels out of control. And that's when the light bulb went off. When she felt overwhelmed by the mess, she didn't shut down because she was lazy or incapable. She shut down because the emotions were really loud, and there was no clear starting point. Nothing was wrong with her, and she wasn't failing. She just didn't have a way to manage the clutter that worked for her home and her brain yet. Once we started separating her emotions from the meaning she was attaching to the clutter, it felt less heavy. The mess stopped feeling like proof she was failing and started feeling like information we could work with. And that made it easier to take the next step. So if this episode is resonating, I want you to know this isn't about waiting until things feel bad enough. I would love to invite you to schedule a curiosity call. It is a pressure-free space to talk through what's feeling hard at home and get help figuring out where to start. And if you're not quite ready for a call yet, I also have a free resource that can help. Most of the signs we've been talking about tend to show up in the same few areas. That's why I created my 5 sneaky clutter hotspots one-page checklist to help you spot the spaces in your home that are quietly asking for attention. You can grab that for free, and if you want more personalized support, the Curiosity Call is always here when you're ready. Both links are in the show notes. This week, try listening before fixing. You might be surprised how much that shifts things. Well, that's it for today, friend. If this episode felt familiar, I want you to know that you're not alone in this, and you don't have to figure it out by yourself. I'm always here to support you. Thank you for being here and listening. Remember, one small shift at a time creates momentum. You're doing better than you think, and I'm so proud of you. See you next week on The Gentle Reset for another weekly 3.